Thank you for taking the time to join us today for our latest seminar in our CMBA Law Student Series. My name is Madeline, and I am the Membership Coordinator at the CMBA. And I am so excited to introduce our esteemed panel today for today's topic on how to keep yourself as a law student on track during the shutdown. So today we have 3 career services experts from our local law schools here to join us. We have first, Mary Beth Moore, Assistant Dean of Career Development at Case Western Reserve University School of Law. We have Alisa Benedict O'Brien, Assistant Dean, Career Services at the University of Akron School of Law. And last but not least, we have Sarah Dylag Beznoska, the Assistant Dean, Student and Career Services at Cleveland Marshall College of Law. So thanks everybody for joining us on the panel today and your participation. We're so happy to have you, and we're excited to get this started. Reminder, there is a Q&A feature on the Zoom, so please feel free to ask questions throughout, and I will be monitoring that, and I will ask the questions for you. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it to Mary Beth Moore to do her intro and get us started.
Thank you, Madeline, for that introduction. First, I want to just mention we're completely grateful for the students who logged in today and for CMBA for hosting us for this important topic. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues at Cleveland Marshall and Akron Law to talk to you about these important tips on, virtual job searching in this kind of new normal we're all experiencing. Quick reminder that for all the students who've tuned in, a lot of the basics do still apply, right? So your relationship with your counselor is more important now than ever. Your documents need to stay spotless, your resume, your cover letters, your writing samples, everything. You have your references at the ready. But some things will be different, right? So we kind of look at this as an opportunity to highlight strengths that you're developing, highlight strengths that are now more important to employers more than ever before in this new normal. So if you have things on your resume or things in your cover letter that show a particular, skill in flexibility, adaptability, resilience, things of those nature, I mean, that matters now, right? We're all kind of experiencing the need to pivot more than we have in the past. So if you have those skill sets already, that's wonderful. Keep growing those and keep highlighting them. I also think it's great that students demonstrate really like a prowess with tech, right? So the more developed one of our categories is virtual networking and why that's so important now. So whenever we kind of tally our graduates on where they or how methods they use to get jobs, every time the majority of folks come back and say it was through my network, it was through my strong relationship building skills that I ultimately got the position I'm in. And so keep doing that now. It's done in a different way, it's done electronically, but it still is valuable and still is beneficial. Think about the people who you know now, people that you've already been in contact with. Think about people who you want to know, and think about positions that are kind of like your ideal job a few years out, and think about who you need to connect with to get there. Keep it in whatever format works for you. Keep an Excel sheet, a Google sheet, something so that you are continually nurturing that network. And I would say, check your own list at least weekly to keep those relationships going. Connect with your mentors or make new mentors during this time. I know at our school we have a mentor alumni program, pretty robust program. Sadly, the April event is not taking place in person, but your mentor now has that hour or two time block free, right? So do connect with your mentor, ask them about what you're doing right, what you could do better, grow with that relationship as well, and maybe seek out new mentors electronically during this time as well. Connect with alumni. Obviously the mentor could be an alum, might not be, but connect with alumni in general. And some ways that we kind of hope make it a little easier for you to start that process is LinkedIn is a good place to start. So typically if I'm advising a student and they're like, LinkedIn is overwhelming, one, make sure your LinkedIn is up to date and talk to your counselor about that so that it's ready to be accessed, but also reach out to alumni, proactively there too. If you type in the name of your law school on the search bar, chances are your school has it set up so that you with people through LinkedIn, and give them a brief synopsis about why you're making that attempt. You won't hear back from everyone. That's okay. Everyone's busy. Everyone's navigating these new, new realities, but it's still worthwhile, and it's still worth, making that outreach attempt, and hopefully you will hear back from quite a few. All of our offices keep alumni lists, so definitely talk to your counselor about lists that they have as well. And then, we might have additional resources. Like I know at our school, we have an online database called Case Connections. If ever there were a time to, use that online network of people that have affirmatively said they want to help students, now is that time. Join local bar associations, right? So pitch to the CMBA. They've been wonderful throughout all of this. And it really is beneficial for students to not just join, but attend events, raise your virtual hand, ask questions, keep communicating with bar associations and people within that network as well. We thought a lot about the importance of volunteering right now. So another way to kind of
Mary Beth, we're losing your audio.
Hello?
Can I suggest maybe one of the other panelists jump in and we come back to Mary Beth?
Oh, yeah. Sure. That was really about it, was the volunteering. The only other thing I was going to mention is to reach out to faculty if you have a particular interest in the work they do, the topic area, or a closeness with them. They may have some good networking ideas for you as well.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Let's kick it over to Alisa to give a little overview and intro and some quick tips.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks, Mary Beth. So my portion of today's program is actually going to cover job searching in this new normal and this virtual situation that we are all navigating. So I want to start by saying that we recognize that many of you were already well on your way to securing summer employment. Perhaps you had already put out many applications or had even started interviewing. So for those of you who have already connected with employers, it is okay to follow up. We just caution you and advise you to do so in a professional manner and to exercise some grace and patience, as many employers that we work with are navigating these challenges the same way that we are. And so if you had already reached out to employers via applications or you had already interviewed, it's a great time to re-engage and to follow up, to remain interested and to continue to express your interest in those positions, but to do so in a way that demonstrates that you understand that perhaps searches may be on hold temporarily, but if you continue to maintain your interest and reach out to employers in that way, it will be important for you for future opportunities. So we definitely recommend that you do that. You can do that by picking up the phone if you have a number to reach folks, or sending an email. That's always a great way to stay in touch. And it also keeps you at the front of mind and keeps you relevant to those employers that you are really interested in. So if you have any questions about how to follow up with an employer, please reach out to your career services folks. I echo Mary Beth's sentiments. We are here to help you, and we can help you navigate your individual situation and help you in reviewing those communications if you want to make sure that those are appropriate. For those of you who perhaps had not yet connected with employers, do not fret. It is still okay to start reaching out in the ways that Mary Beth has just suggested in a virtual way. So we still recommend that you exercise professionalism as always. As Mary Beth said, the basics still apply, maybe more so now than ever since we lose the face-to-face contact in most circumstances. But you can certainly reach out to folks and inquire about future opportunities. You can always stay in touch by sending a relevant article or blog post that made you think about that particular employer. But the message here is just to stay in contact, to stay relevant, and to stay connected, and to do so in a professional way, and to be understanding that perhaps job opportunities that were there a couple of months ago may be up in the air right now. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. I also want to mention, for those of you who were in the interview phase of pursuing summer employment, to the extent possible, you might be able to suggest virtual interviews as opposed to postponing. I've been in touch with some of my students and grads who have had success with this approach. And while maybe it's not your first choice, it is a way, again, to stay engaged, to continue to express your interest in that particular employer and continue to move the ball forward, even if employment might be delayed because of COVID-19. So think about that as an option and a way to suggest moving the application process forward. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how Career Services is here to help you in job searching in this virtual situation. I can tell you that all of your Career Services folks, regardless of where you attend law school, are in touch with employers. We are at the forefront of making sure that we serve you first and foremost, but also that we serve our employers and that we understand their needs. We understand what their plans are for the summer, even if that's a big question mark right now. We're continuing to engage with them and to think of creative ways to find opportunities for you all. So reach out to us if you're worried. Reach out to us if you're not sure where to look and you're fearful that maybe you won't get some experience this summer. But I also want to say, it's okay if your summer experience doesn't look like what you had originally intended it to. But there are ways to get some substantive legal experience this summer, even if it's remote. And we're going to continue to talk about what some of those opportunities are. So definitely keep in touch with us. I also am confident telling you that your Career Services folks are continuing to update and modify our resources. I know many of us have done webinars like this. We've recorded programs so we can deliver those to you. And we've updated resources, for example, how to be appropriate and professional on a Zoom call or a webinar. So these are things we have at the ready, so don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help from your folks. One complement to many of our offices also are third-party legal recruiters. I want to mention here that they also may be a great resource for you. If you're a first or second year law student, or even if you're going to be a recent grad, it's not necessarily that they will have a lot of entry level or law clerk positions available to connect you with, but they are a great resource to give you some advice on your resume, particularly if you are looking at a specialized field. And also they do a great job of telling us what is going on in the legal market. I follow many of the local third-party recruiters on LinkedIn, and they've been posting very helpful articles. Many of them are also engaged with the bar. So that's just another great friend and cheerleader that you can have out there to connect with during this time. I also want to mention, for those of you who maybe are closer to graduating and you've sort of had the curiosity about JD Advantage positions and maybe not pursuing practice in the traditional sense, now may be a great time to explore some of those JD Advantage positions. As we continue to follow the legal market and follow the market generally, there are opportunities that are popping up in other industries that could be a great short or long-term career path for folks with a law degree. So again, touch base with Career Services or recruiters to learn about where you can find these opportunities. I know our department has an alternative careers and lists of industries who hire folks with JDs. I know other Career Services have that as well. So now is a time, again, to think creatively and maybe to pursue what you've ultimately sort of been thinking about. It just may be a better time to start thinking about those. Next, I want to mention that there are some great opportunities this summer that still will be available in the form of externships or your legal clinics. So if you hadn't considered those as opportunities for summer, now may be a great time to revisit that or to explore it. I know many law schools are looking at externships in a creative way and thinking about how, if it is needed, that those need to be remote for the full summer, about how we can make that happen. And we're working directly with our externship supervisors to do that. Many of us got a taste of that this spring with our folks who were externing, and we quickly had to pivot and make sure that they were able to finish their hours and their assignments in a remote and virtual world. So we are looking to expand those offerings for the summer. I know many law schools are proposing a hybrid externship where maybe the first half may have to be remote and virtual, but then maybe the second half, if everything is reopened and it's safe to do so, you'll be able to show up to your placement site and get that legal experience. But nonetheless, it's going to be a great way to boost your resume, to explore some areas of the law that maybe you haven't had opportunity to do yet, and to continue to gain substantive legal experience under the supervision of a licensed attorney or judge. So we definitely recommend that you explore those as opportunities, talk to your externship coordinator at your school and figure out the plan to make that happen. The same goes for legal clinics. I know the 3 schools on this call have fabulous legal clinic offerings. And I know personally in talking with our clinicians, they have deployed resources and made plans for this summer to make clinics go forward again, and to connect you working with clients and to continue to get substantive legal experience. How it will look logistically, of course, remains a question mark, but that opportunity is there and the experience is going to be there. So definitely encourage you to explore those 2 as great opportunities. We also wanted to mention that research assistantships with faculty are another great way to get some substantive experience this summer. You can hone your research and writing skills for sure through those positions, but you also then can get specialized knowledge in a particular area of the law. So definitely look into that as an opportunity with your law school as well. And then lastly, along the lines of thinking creatively about positions maybe offered by your law school, we wanted to mention fellowship opportunities. So I know many of our law schools have centers and we have fellowships through those centers, but also many of us offer public interest fellowships. I know at Akron in particular, we've extended our deadline to apply for public interest fellowships through May 1. I know many other law schools are doing that, given that many positions have yet to be achieved because of the timeline of things that's occurring right now. So definitely look into public interest fellowships and funding sources that may be available for you to do some government or public interest legal work this summer. Even if that was not your initial plan, it's still going to be very valuable for your short and long-term career goals. Next, I wanted to also encourage you to think about virtual and remote positions. This is something that I know as career services folks, we don't necessarily promote because we want you to get that important face-to-face interaction with supervisors, attorneys, and clients. But at this point, it's going to be a great option. And I'm seeing different virtual and remote positions pop up. So definitely keep track of that. And one important point that we thought about in thinking about virtual and remote positions is a great opportunity for those of you who want to leave Ohio. If, for example, you're here, I don't know why you would. It was 70 yesterday and snowing today. Who would ever want to leave? But if you are interested in relocating, connecting to some virtual and remote opportunities in another market out of state might be a great way for you to start building some connections in that market as you think about relocating. So keep that in mind as an option. And again, we can help you try to identify and locate those opportunities. And then lastly, I would just encourage you to be creative and sort of to think outside the box of the traditional summer internship, which as we're most accustomed to, maybe an 8 or 10 week, 20 to 40 hour a week internship where you show up somewhere every day and have a very structured experience. We know that that is not likely to be the case this summer. So we would just encourage you to think creatively as you are connecting with potential mentors or employers and put out there some suggestions of things that you can offer as far as remote and virtual services. You have a lot to offer and you can bring a lot to the table, even in a virtual capacity. So think about offering to be able to do online research. I know there are many savvy legal researchers on the webinar today. Think about offering to write or edit or proofread for attorneys that are there. Think about being able to offer some technical assistance. I've been talking with some employers who have had to scramble to make everything available virtually to clients, and they might need a little bit of help managing that. You can be that person to offer that assistance. You might also be useful in helping design presentations for firms or for attorneys out there. So think about ways you can offer your skills in that set. Also, you might help creating newsletters or client alerts. I know I personally am getting a lot of client alerts from firms I'm connected with about updates as the law and situations are constantly changing. It might be a good opportunity for you to showcase your research and writing skills if you can contribute and help with some of those projects. Annotating documents is another thing you could offer to do, as well as helping with some electronic document review for firms who are willing to have you do that. And then lastly, most importantly, think creatively about perhaps doing some short-term or interim work if that becomes available and you're able to do that remotely and virtually. So again, the summer may not look like what you had originally planned, but I hope you're starting to think about the opportunities that will be there, and I hope that you'll pursue some of those opportunities. Now I'm going to kick it over to Sarah.
Hi there, I'm Sarah Beznoska. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student and Career Services at Cleveland Marshall College of Law. I want to thank the CMBA for bringing all of the schools together today. I think, like Mary Beth and Alisa, I've been helping law students with career and professional development for many, many years, but the current situation is totally unprecedented. So it has been refreshing to see the legal community come together in ways like this to support the law students in our community who are seeking employment, seeking to stay connected, seeking ways to build their skills. When the three of us sat down to sort of think through tips that would be best to give law students, one thing we thought about in particular was helping law students to think about controlling the things that are currently within your control. So there's a lot of what ifs right now in the market, but there are some things that you're in charge of and that you can control. Your brand, the skills you're developing, and the ways you're demonstrating adaptability, flexibility, and resilience. Employers will eventually be looking for people who stayed flexible, stayed adaptable, and were proactive and forward thinking in this time frame. So we really wanted to encourage everyone to try to get themselves into that proactive mindset. Now is a great time to think about polishing your online image, updating your application materials. I think both previous speakers have talked about needing to have very clean, clear, well-drafted resumes, writing samples, and cover letters. Now is the time to be taking a careful eye to those things, as well as a good time to craft the pitch that you're making to employers about why you are a good hire. On LinkedIn, we suggest that if you don't have a profile, now's the time to create one. And if you do, now's the time to polish it and update it. Make sure you have a professional profile picture, a strong headline, and update your work experience. And if you have any questions about it, work with your career services office. We review and help you update your LinkedIn profile as needed. Along the same lines, of course, update your resume, fine-tune your writing sample, revisit your cover letters, and just take a very careful eye to those documents, which always need to be perfect, but certainly in a tough market, even more important to make sure that you're doing that. We also suggest that you practice your skills at advocating for yourself in conversation. So use your law school's virtual resources to practice virtual mock interviews with your career services offices, to practice your elevator speech, and to talk through the ways that you are marketing yourself to employers. So take a little bit of time to practice that advocacy in a virtual environment. Think about and track your current transferable skills. So I think we've already mentioned a little bit, multitasking, adaptability, time management, work ethic, resilience. But be forward thinking too. So what new skills can you develop right now? There are virtual CLEs, Facebook Live events, webinars on new legal topics that are arising every day in health law, tax, business reorganizations, bankruptcy, data privacy, unemployment, housing, civil rights, disability rights, reproductive rights. like I said, new and emerging issues every day. So consider writing an article, a blog post, maybe even a law review note on an emerging topic. Lastly, think also about courses that you might take or ways that you might demonstrate your skills with technology and remote working skills. This is something that all employers have had to shift to very quickly, and to the extent that you can be emphasizing the strengths that you bring in those areas, I think it will be an important skill to think about. One additional thing I wanted to be sure to mention is, above all, try very hard to stay positive. We know that some of you will find yourself in unanticipated situations. Some employers may not be able to move forward with summer employment opportunities. Adapt, be forward thinking, think ahead to opportunities that may exist for you in the fall. Lean on your alumni network, your law schools, and on each other for support. We're all moving forward in a new environment, and we are all here to support each other. So be sure that you're reaching out for help where you need it, and trying to keep a positive.
Thank you, Sarah. That was very informative, and Alisa, that was great too. Great career tips. Mary Beth, I know it was breaking up a little bit before. Do you want to see if the connection's a little bit better now? Do you have anything else to add?
So I wonder, did you hear most of my presentation? Or okay, good. Yeah, no, I echo everything Alisa and Sarah said. You know, like Sarah had ended with, we're all navigating this new reality, but the more we can stay positive, things are changing. Things are changing regularly, right? So amidst the uncertainty, the more you can kind of hone skills that matter in an uncertain world, the better.
Great. That was good. I guess I have a quick question. So focusing more on the 1L and 2Ls, what do you guys think has been a very popular question that you've been receiving, and the best way to answer whatever that may be? Alisa, you want to go first?
Sure. I think that a question I'm getting quite often, and I tried to address it, but I think I addressed it fast, is what happens if I don't get anything for the summer? And my answer anyways would be, that's okay. And I think my colleagues would agree. Now, that doesn't mean do nothing, do absolutely nothing related to moving your legal career forward. But I think it's absolutely fine if you maybe focus on just a few of the things we've covered today. Again, controlling the things you can control, and you'll be a stronger candidate going forward for it, whether that's going to be for fall or spring employment or focusing on next summer. So that's something I've been getting asked a lot. What happens if nothing pans out and the stay-at-home order continues to get extended and I can't do anything this summer? Does that mean I'll never get a job? And the answer is no, that's not what that means. It just means that we have to be creative and proactive.
Great. Mary Beth, have you heard something different, or is it mostly about what's going to happen in the summer?
I think a lot of people, rightly so, are taking their challenges one challenge at a time. So I agree with Alisa. I'm hearing a lot of, what is my current situation for this spring semester? We've already kind of tackled that problem, and now it's moved on to what's going to happen for the summer. I did see a chat come through, and I'm happy to address that question if you want. I don't know if you want to ask it and I can address it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did see that. So the question is, with most schools embracing pass-fail options or no credit options, even for bar required classes, how do we explain these gaps in our transcripts to potential employers? Right.
So, my first inclination when I read that is part of the answer is in the question. Most schools are indeed embracing these grading structures. So employers are aware you're kind of on a level playing field with schools across the nation. There's really little explanation required. For particular employers where a second semester transcript with actual letter grades matters, I know that the schools on this call, we've all kind of pushed our OCI season, postponed it a little bit forward to 2021, I guess the beginning of the year. And so that will help for those employers where a second semester of transcripts is important to them. They will have that.
Awesome. We had another question come in. Sarah, I don't know if you want to try to tackle this or anybody else can join in. As a 3L graduating this May, how should we approach applying and searching for long-time employment, especially since there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the bar?
I could start and certainly invite my colleagues to chime in, but I think the theme of this entire presentation and all the tips that we worked to put together today is about not losing momentum in your job search and in your professional development and the building of your network. So I think I do understand that for graduating students, that timing of the bar exam creates quite a bit of uncertainty and anxiety, and we're all sort of eager to have some certainty around that. But I think that it is important to not let that uncertainty stop you from approaching employers about potential opportunities, staying in touch with the folks who you have either already applied to or been networking with throughout your law school experience. Now more than ever, it is a time to sort of inventory for yourself, who are my connections and how can I reach out and ask them for help? So like I said, I do understand the bar exam creates a lot of uncertainty, but it shouldn't stop you from continuing a job search. I think we are all going to have to be flexible and make adjustments, and I hope that legal employers will be able to be thinking about that as well as they think about new hires.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else want to add anything on that? 'Cause we did have another question come in if you want me to ask it. So this person asked, this part partially cut off for me from the first presenter. What volunteering opportunities are available or suggested at this time, if there is any?
Yeah, so I was that first presenter. Can you hear me? Is that, we're clear? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what I had mentioned is, I think it's an opportune time to reach out to legal service providers. If you're hunkering down, here in town, reach out to Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, Community Legal Services, smaller legal aid or legal service organizations that exist in specific areas like immigration or different areas like that interest you. That's a good starting point. Reaching, and you do that right wherever you're located right now with your family staying put. Reaching out to bar associations for lists of maybe pro bono opportunities, I think is a good idea as well. They oftentimes have their, finger on the pulse of what pro bono needs are out there. And so offering to help is great. And then it doesn't have to be legal, the volunteering, but I think that's a good starting point.
Great, thank you. Another question that I have is, I know we briefly talked about this, but do you have any advice or tips for law students dealing with anxiety or stress right now, or are there any resources that you would recommend for them? Anybody?
I'll start out and then invite my colleagues to join in. I think the first thing that is the most important is just to face it head on and to understand that it's okay if you struggle with anxiety and it's hitting you a little bit harder right now. I know a lot of us are going through that. And I know a lot of law schools are putting together some wellness initiatives and doing just open forums. We're having a virtual coffee in a couple of weeks just to connect and just to be there, even if there's no substantive presentation, but just to assure you that everything will be okay and to help you navigate it. I know law schools are particularly, a lot of times through student affairs, are putting together wellness programs. I saw the bar did a yoga, I think, last week. So certainly taking care of mind and body together is going to be very important. So I would advise folks to use your law school resources. I know part of the anxiety is certainly coming from financial concerns. And to that extent, I know law schools are really moving forward to try to help as they can with emergency funding. And so if that is a source of your anxiety, I would encourage you to reach out to the appropriate person at your school, because that is available for you as well as just someone there to talk to.
And I echo everything Alisa said. Absolutely, you know, reach out to your student services team at our school that's combined with CDO. We're here to help. Reaching out to main campus university services if you want to have, you know, direct communication and counseling sessions there, that is an opportune time to do that. And then also if it's kind of like it's an anxiety and you feel like you're not as connected, check out community events, whether they're offered through the law school or outside, you know, things that kind of you enjoy doing. You're still going to participate, but just doing it in a different way, and it still has a lot of value.
I fully agree, both with use your internal law school resources. At Cleveland Marshall, we are working on some wellness programming that will roll out this month. Use your main university. So at Cleveland State, our counseling center remains available for students. I know that's true at all of the schools across the country and around the region. So those resources are available. And I would also say, don't be afraid to ask for help from your administration and your law school contacts. So there is no question that is too silly to be asking folks. And we are all dealing with a lot of, what if this happens? What if that happens? And are all open to just sort of having those conversations with students to help you focus a little bit and help you think through some of those things that are making you very, very anxious and nervous.
Great, thank you. Another question, invite you all to join if you have a good answer for it. If you've been notified that a summer experience will likely be delayed or a shortened one, how do you suggest taking advantage of the shortened summer experience and using that to base future career decisions? So I would say the best way to take advantage of a shortened summer.
So I think I recognize the name of the student, so I'll go ahead and be the first to field it, if that's okay. You know, this is not an ideal situation for anyone, right? Ideally, you'd have all 16 weeks to dedicate to a summer position, but I think we have to take note of the fact that, you know, any experience is worthwhile, and even if it's a 4-week experience, it's still 4 solid weeks. You know, you'll make those connections, you'll keep in communication even when the formalized summer has ended. You still will have all the connections you made. You can follow up with them, see if there's still assistance they need in any projects, you know, things of that nature. So I think we just have to, like we've been saying on this call, pivot, and I do absolutely believe that some experience is better than no experience.
I absolutely agree with Mary Beth. I think getting some experience is a good thing, and you know, making sure that you're doing your best on the projects and work that are available to you in that time frame, and that you're prepping with your career services team prior to going into that summer experience to anticipate ways that you may need to adjust. If it's going to be a remote experience, practice your presentation skills and your speaking skills via WebEx or Zoom or other platforms that exist, so you're ready to really present very professionally throughout the weeks that you do have at the employer.
Great, thank you. So there's a question about the CMBA having virtual networking events, but I actually want to turn it back onto the law schools. Something was said about the coffee or any other virtual law school activities that are going on that law students can participate in that way. So I guess I'm just wondering if you can expand on any of those, or if you have anything coming up that you'd like to share, now's the time.
Sure, I can. So I mentioned we're doing 2 virtual coffees for Akron Law students. One is going to be dedicated to 1Ls, and then the other is going to be dedicated to upper division students. We're doing those on April 23rd and 24th. And then we have another opportunity to connect on April 25th, which I actually talked with Mary Beth and Sarah about yesterday, that actually relates to the last question about preparing for a summer experience, whether it be shortened or virtual or remote, and how to succeed in that summer experience. So I know many of my law school colleagues are also planning events. I think that we are all open to maybe trying to plan some sort of virtual, I've seen virtual happy hours, virtual coffees, and I know that the bar associations have been talking about doing those. I don't know if the Cleveland Bar has anything yet slated, but I think that we would be open to looking to expand upon that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, things are still in development. You know, we have stuff going on every day. Yeah, that would be great, especially for law students. That's great.
And likewise at Case, although we haven't developed the programs yet, our team member, I'll give a shout out, Delante Thomas, our newest JD advisor in the career development office, is now developing an online networking program for our students. And if we have a chance to collaborate on anything, you know, we love that as well.
Awesome. Does anybody have any closing remarks? Your number one tip for a law student right now? Anything that you want to make sure that they can feel better leaving this webinar with?
I definitely do. And I think it relates to one of the questions we had about mental health and wellness. We can't emphasize enough, and it affects us to get outside if you can with your mask on, you know, whatever it takes. Join an online yoga class, you know, bake. So whatever you do that helps you to keep your priorities, you know, set, and to know that the job search is stressful. It's one piece of your life right now. So while there is a sense of urgency around it, you have to keep your, you know, wellness in place as well.
I couldn't agree more, and I would just encourage everybody to be kind to themselves and one another, and to remember that we will get through this. All of your career aspirations still are yours and still are attainable. This may just be a slight delay. So that would be my advice. We will get through it, and we will be on to bigger and better things.
Fully agree. I'm not sure I could say it any better than Mary Beth and Alisa have said it already. But I think that try to stay positive, try to be flexible, take care of yourself, have grace with yourself, and have grace with others. So, and we are all here to support you as well.
Great. Well, thanks, you guys. It's almost 1 o'clock. This has been really great. I also want to give a little update that we have another webinar today at 3 o'clock about landlord and tenant rights during the coronavirus. So if that's anything that you're experiencing or have questions about, that'll be a great one to turn into. We have stuff going on almost every day, cleanmetrobar.org. Thank you so much to Sarah, Mary Beth, Alisa for taking the time to come on and be our law student experts on all things law school topics. And that's all I got. Anybody else have anything?
Thank you. Thank you for hosting.
You're doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks so much. And stay tuned for next Thursdays.
Thanks.